Hey guys, welcome back to more Entitled Neighbor Stories. This video is gonna be all about crazy neighbors thinking that other people's property belongs to them and they can just use it without any repercussions. And the first story is titled, "You wanna throw a fit over the property line? No problem." So I bought a house in 2018. I had to in a hurry so I could get my mom in my old home before her chemo got intense. My family had outgrown the one we were in and we found one that needed some work but had 5.25 acres and a chicken coop. Neighbor Dan obsessively manicures his property and it is much nicer as a result, but the price and features worked for us on our side. So then we fix up and paint the chicken coop, only interrupted once by Dan asking us to tear it down or move it. Surely the coop was well on our side of the property line, I thought. Well, I politely declined and described how the only thing I'd be doing is building an enclosed run towards my house to protect the birds from predators after fixing some things inside the house that had been neglected. The previous owner was a serious alcoholic and there's a lot of work to do, but then Dan walks away angry but defeated. A couple of years pass and the run is built exactly as described and our informal survey shows the property line about 20 feet back and I built gardens roughly the same distance from the property line. Dan has a survey done that suspiciously puts the back corner of the coop and about 1/3 of the run over the property line, but we agreed that it could stay so long as I don't encroach any further and I eventually move it, which was my actual plan. He said to take all the time I need, declining my offers to buy the dirt or trade easements and reimburse him for the cost of the survey. Another year goes by and Dan has changed his tune. He interrupts a target practice session with my 2 foster kids to demand that I demolish the coop and run soon, to which I said, I suppose I could push that project up to next fall, 2024. He's not happy but seems pacified. I was not thrilled either, but I'm a reasonable guy and would prefer to have a good relationship with a neighbor I don't like much. Enter May 2024, 6 months before I agreed to do anything, and this guy shows up in my backyard wanting to talk about the damn coop again. You know, Dan, you said I could have all the time I needed and then demanded that I tear it down, going back on your cue the most childish temper tantrum I think I've ever seen. He was literally stomping on the ground with elbows out, screaming about suing me and how he will own my whole house by the time he's done with me. Enter the malicious compliance. Screw you, Dan. I decided the best place for that coop is exactly where it is. It's been there about 20 years and adverse possession only requires 10. I can take that 20 square feet of dirt from you and you will even have to pay my legal fees. Only the run needs to move since it's only been there 5 years and that's exactly what I did. The new run connects to the gardens and the roof funnels the rooster's crows right to his house. Setback requirements say structures must be 5 foot from the property lines. The back corner of the run is now exactly 5'2" away from the supposed property line and he gets to hear and smell my chickens every single time he's outside. He will not have peace until he dies or moves. I am well within my rights and while I do struggle with medical and PTSD issues from my service, I learned very well from the Navy how to be technically correct in a way that works only for me. And yeah guys, even though I would have to give props to OP, I would not want to live next to that person. Having chickens that close to my house would be an absolute nightmare for these recordings. Either way guys, if you still appreciate real people reading these stories instead of AIs, then please don't forget to like the video and post some star emojis in the comments because that would help me tremendously. Thank you so much. The next one is from r/entitledpeople and it is titled, Karen family abused my land for free parking on Christmas, but regrets it big time. I froze them out. So I live in a house that I inherited from my maternal grandparents who passed away not too long ago. The property is very nice with 2 acres worth of land. The house itself does not constitute the entire 2 acres. What makes it 2 acres is the additional plot of land I have besides my home. My grandfather was a plumber and he was able to make his own plumbing business. The money from his business combined with accurate investing made him decently well off and he was able to buy this luxury house for him and his family, so this is also where my mom grew up. When my grandparents passed and we were discussing the will, my mom agreed to give me ownership of the house because she didn't want to move just yet, especially since she and my dad still had to take care of my little sister, who is still in high school. This worked out for me since I was looking for a place to stay, and so here I am. My neighbors are generally pretty nice. I'm not exactly close friends with any of them, but I'd say we are acquaintances and everyone is friendly to each other. However, I live across from, for lack of a better way to phrase it, the worst family in the world. I live in a nice neighborhood, not just in terms of people, but in terms of wealth. Think two-story houses, big driveways and garages, the like. They are the kind of houses that go crazy when it's Christmas time, if that provides a visual. However, most are pretty humble, they don't care to flaunt it or try to impress anyone with it. However, I say most for a reason. This family is the complete opposite. There's 5 people, the parents and 3 kids, 2 sons and a daughter. One son and the daughter are both young kids. The eldest is 16 and they're the most insufferable people in the neighborhood. The husband, for one, always tries to one-up everyone and prove how tough and manly he is. I haven't had too many encounters with the guy, thankfully, but I've heard he's a horrible person to interact with. He always tries to win and prove to everyone that he is an amazing golfer. If he doesn't get his way, he cheats. If someone calls him out for cheating, he will basically start cussing them out and being a sore loser. The wife is a typical Karen, which is what I'll be calling her throughout this story. She complains a lot and is never satisfied with anything. There have been multiple incidents where police have been called to the neighborhood for things that really don't seem to be bothering anyone but Karen. The kids are almost as bad as their parents. I know I probably should not say this since they are still kids and I'm a grown adult, but genuinely, I've never seen such rude, disrespectful kids. The 16-year-old is a jerk. He's very loud and obnoxious and takes after his father, obviously not in a good way. He has a habit of pranking people by destroying or tagging their property, and he's pretty spoiled too. As his parents are rich and he's always flexing his designer shoes or bags or whatever, he acts like half the neighborhood does not get luxury items too. The 2 younger children have no respect for boundaries and, like their brother, cause trouble on people's properties. Like him, they are also spoiled and have been known to cause a scene when they don't get what they want. But they are children, so I can cut them a little more slack. For all the kids, even the 16-year-old, the problem lies with the parents 100%. I just hope they grow out of it once they're a little older. Anyways though, that is the Karen family. I've had some problems with them in the past, usually them complaining to me about something I did, but never to the extent as in this latest incident. So the entire property is actually very open. None of my neighbors or I have fences around our property, and thus the plot of land is essentially just a long stretch of grass next to my house, just to provide a visual. It was kept unused like this for the sake of my grandparents' dog Lola, who would run around a lot on the grass, but I don't have a dog, so I wanted to add something to the house in order to utilize the lot. I ultimately decided on extending my backyard so I have more room to do things like have a barbecue and a garden, things like that. I don't plan to use all of the extra land, just as much as I need. The rest will remain as a part of my front yard, and I plan to plant a tree there to make it look nice. Anyway though, although there's no fence, I did put up a sign saying that the property was private and that no trespassing was allowed just in case. As I mentioned, every house has a big driveway, a garage, etc. If we were to max out the garage space, the driveway space and the curb, everyone would be able to park 8 cars on their property alone. Obviously, this is not realistic as I'm just one person, and by maxing out the space I would be blocking myself in. I only drive 1 car and I have it parked in my garage to avoid it getting dirty or hot, and when I have guests, I usually tell them to park on the driveway since they will leave anyway. I also try to keep my curb open so that I can place my trash cans there. Meanwhile, Karen and her family have, from what I gathered, a total of 6 cars. 2 cars that the family rarely uses. I suspect it's because they are vintage or special in some way. These cars are in the garage, so the other cars are parked on a driveway, Karen's, her husband's and her son's. Obviously, Karen's property is very cluttered, just with her immediate family, but about a year ago Karen's brother and his girlfriend began staying with the family too. I thought it was for a vacation or a brief visit at first, but after a month had passed, I figured that they were there to stay. Of course, it was not any of my business, so I did not pay them any mind. However, the brother and his girlfriend started parking on my property. Well, at first they were parking on my curb. This struck me as odd, considering Karen's curb was still very much free and could fit both the brother's and the girlfriend's cars. Like I said, I tried to keep the curb free for the trash. I let this go on for a week, assuming it was temporary, but when it continued, I decided to confront Karen about it. I told her very calmly that I didn't like her brother or his girlfriend parking on my curb and would prefer it if they could park on her side, if they could. Karen was very disgruntled by this but obliged in my request anyway. Afterwards, the brother and his girlfriend didn't park on my curb anymore. For a week they were settled on Karen's curb and I thought that was that. I was very wrong. So at this point it was Thanksgiving, not the American Thanksgiving. I'm Canadian, so this was in October. My family doesn't really do a lot for Thanksgiving, but we decided to have a barbecue at my house. I kinda just wanted to use this as an excuse to spend time in my backyard. While we were in the backyard, my dad and I were talking and he asked me, "Hey, are those cars yours?" I was not sure what he was talking about, but he was pointing towards the lot. So I looked over. There were about 6 or 7 cars parked on the empty lot. I was very shocked and confused, but recognized 2 of the cars as the brothers and his girlfriends. I was absolutely angry, especially since I had told Karen that I didn't want anyone in her family parking on my curb, but I guess she thought this meant that she could park on the lot. I understood that Karen did not have a lot of available space in her family, but that didn't allow her to park on my property without my permission, especially since I was trying to work on the area. And I think by that OP meant that Karen and her family probably did not have a lot of available brain space. Anyway, although I was extremely mad and annoyed, I didn't want to cause any trouble, especially on Thanksgiving, so I let it go. However, after Thanksgiving, the brother and his girlfriend began parking on the property. I tried to confront Karen about this. While she usually heard me out, the cars were only gone for a week before they were back again. It was clear that Karen had no respect for my boundaries or my privacy. I was reaching my absolute boiling point with them. When Christmas came along, I knew that the same fiasco would happen again with Karen and her guests, so a week before Christmas Eve, I approached Karen and told her that her family or guests were not allowed to park on my lot at all, not during Christmas or after. This is how the conversation went. Me, Karen, I know Christmas is coming up and you're probably gonna have a party. I would like to ask you very nicely to not have any of your family members or guests park on my lot. Karen, why not? Me, first of all, the lot belongs to me and is private property. So by parking there, your associates are trespassing. Second of all, I'm working on extending my backyard to the lot and I cannot work as well if your cars are in the way because I have to worry about damaging them. And 3, by driving on the grass you're killing it and I plan to keep the grass nice over here. I would rather you just not park there at all. Karen, our driveway is completely full. Where do you expect my guests to park? Me, I understand that, but that has nothing to do with me. Your family and your guests have been consistently parking there without my consent and it's causing major inconveniences for me. I would be a little more understanding if you had asked me beforehand, but it's clear you have no respect for me or my personal property. Karen, it's not like you're using your lot that much. Why should it stay empty if other people need it? You're being selfish. We then went back and forth like this for a while and eventually I got tired of arguing with her, so I just ended off by reiterating that no one should park on our property on Christmas. Well, a week passed and Christmas arrived. I had my parents drive over to my house so that we could have dinner. The festivities went on and we had an amazing dinner. However, I decided to look out my window and check if the lot was empty, and to no one's surprise, Karen and her guests parked there once more. Although I had a great time celebrating Christmas with my parents, Karen and her family's blatant disregard of my request left a bad taste in my mouth the entire time. At this point, I was so tired of Karen and her family's BS, and it was obvious they were not gonna listen to me. So I decided to take matters into my own hands. By the way, for context that I forgot to mention, I live in northeastern Canada, so it gets very cold and snows quite a bit in the winter. Any water that stays outside is likely to get frozen over. I decided that if Karen and her family were not gonna listen to me, I would make them listen. I filled up a bucket with water and carried it outside. It was later in the night and Karen's family was still partying. I hurried over to their cars and, using a smaller bucket, poured water all over the important bits of the cars, the locks, the windows, the tires. Anything to prevent them from getting into their cars and easily getting out of the driveway. I did this to all of the cars and the 5 guests as well as the brother and his girlfriend. I had to come back into the house to refill the water 3 or 4 times. After my work was done, I returned to my house and waited. It was around 4 AM when I heard pounding on my door. I came down to see Karen's entire household, minus the young kids, screaming at me because they couldn't get into their cars anymore. I pleaded innocence. I kept saying that I was in the house the entire time and that I had not seen anything at all. Karen kept pointing her finger at me. She kept screaming, "I know it was you! I know it was you!" I just smiled and replied, "Maybe it's karma." They stayed congregating and demanded that they wouldn't leave until they could get their cars back, so I just shrugged and called the cops as well as a towing company. Thank God I knew a guy who owned a towing company that owed me a favor, otherwise it would have been impossible to get a towing arranged for Christmas. I wanted these idiots to get their cars towed and to get legal punishment for their non-stop parking. When the cops came, I told them everything, emphasizing that the lot was under my possession and that it was private property. Hence, by parking their cars there, everyone was trespassing. Their cars got towed and Karen and her pose were rightfully ashamed, returning to the house with their tails tucked between their legs. Afterwards, Karen and her family never parked on my lot again. What was even funnier though to me was that they stopped interacting with me at all. From what the police told me, Karen's brother, the girlfriend and the guests all got fined for trespassing and they got some more karma too in the form of drama. Apparently Karen was sick of her brother and his girlfriend staying with them, something about them mooching off the family, and from what my neighbors tell me. One of her main points was how annoying it was that they were parked on the curb. I found that funny because now she knows how I felt. In short though, she threw them both out of the house. It was quite the scene. I heard a lot of yelling one morning and looked out to find their suitcases all over the lawn. Safe to say that I think, combined with the towing, the police tickets and all the issues happening in the family, they got the karma they deserved. I cannot say that I'm not reveling in their pain just a little bit, maybe I'm just being mean. And well guys, I wouldn't call that mean, I would just call that witty and legendary. In good news, I fixed the grass that they were screwing up and have been working on making the backyard look nicer. I think it's going very well. Either way, the next one is titled, I 35 male cheated on my wife 36 female. I know I'm aware of my faults, I know I screwed up, she and I had something beautiful, she is still the love of my life, we were together for 10 years, 2 years dating and 8 married, but I made a huge mistake and cheated on her. It was just once, just one damn time. Somehow she found out, I never knew how because I haven't been able to talk to her since then. I guess she found something on my phone. I came home that afternoon as usual and everything felt weird, the house felt emptier and I quickly realized that her things were gone. I panicked, I started calling her over and over but her phone did not even ring. Suddenly, I saw some papers on the table. She was divorcing me. Under the divorce papers there was a note that said, "That is what you do with cheaters." That was the last thing I got from her 2 years ago now. Of course, I called the contact information for her lawyer, who has been the only bridge between us, but he just told me that he was her legal representative and that she did not want to see me. I thought, I got angry, but in the end her lawyer just told me that it would be better if I got my own lawyer. Well, I did not want to, and I absolutely refused to accept that 10 years of relationship would end like this. I know I have failed, but I always wanted to fix it. I know that if she gave me the chance, I could make that sweet and special girl I met 10 years ago fall in love with me again. I know that I can make her forgive me. After all, many couples go through similar things and get over it. Why can't we be one more couple in that statistic? Why, after 8 years of marriage, am I thrown away like garbage for a mistake? I don't deserve so much indifference. I haven't been able to see her or even hear her voice in 2 years. 2 years of not being able to see or talk to the person you love the most is too much of a punishment. This situation has destroyed me emotionally, mentally, and even physically. I ended up consuming an unhealthy amount of alcohol, weeks of barely eating, not sleeping. I was a zombie for months. I was just functioning on automatic. I wanted to die, but I couldn't let myself die because I always held onto the hope that she would come back to me. My therapist says it's really hard when you cannot get closure from a relationship because your mind cannot process that the relationship is over, so you're always thinking that person will knock on the door or that you will wake up from sleep and they'll be there by your side. The divorce was finalized over a year ago, and I'll be honest, I didn't make it easy. I didn't want to get divorced, and I still don't understand how we can be divorced. I asked for couples therapy, but she refused. I know from my lawyer that her lawyer advised her to go at least once or twice, but she refused. It took quite a while, but finally the divorce happened. I cannot even describe the feeling. I felt and still feel like if a piece of me had been cut out. I know I hurt her, I know I failed, but I think we all deserve a second chance. When I couldn't take the pain anymore, I decided to start therapy. My therapist doesn't give me advice to get her back, he only focuses on me moving on with my life, encouraging me to meet new people and go out on dates, but I don't want to. At this point I'm not even interested in intercourse anymore. And well, a few days ago something happened that completely shattered me. I was having a few beers with my friend at my house, let's call him Nick. We were both pretty drunk and I started talking about my wife. And he said to me, "You should put more effort into getting over her. She's over you and is happy having a life away from you. You should do the same. You cannot live in this self-pity all your life." Something in his words hit me, but not in the way he expected. He spoke with a lot of confidence that my wife is over me and is happy now. How does he even know that? At this point I got angry and started pressuring him to talk. He refused though, and I pressed as hard as I could. I cried, I begged him to tell me if he knew something. I needed to know something about her. Until he finally told me his wife has been in contact with my wife for the last year. They were great friends, and I remember Sabrina, my friend's wife, being very sad about losing contact with my wife. The thing is that my wife went to live in Norway, got married to a guy there and is about 7 months pregnant. I felt like dying. I literally felt like dying with this information. How could she do this to me? How could it be that while I was crying, getting drunk, missing her and wanting to die every day, she was happily on the other side of the world getting married, screwing and getting pregnant by another guy? How could it be that she didn't have a child with me in many years, to the point that I thought she was infertile, but she got pregnant by this new guy so easily? Where did this guy come from? And by the way, Ripestories, I gotta say, I've never seen a Reddit post with so many red flags. Anyway, I got no answers for absolutely anything, and I feel like I cannot go on with my life without these answers. The only thing I can think of is that she had revenge intercourse with the first Norwegian guy she came across and got pregnant and decided to keep the baby. Maybe she got married because she wanted to stay in that country legally, and I guess like in most countries, getting married is a good option for that. I don't know, but these thoughts are killing me. I refuse to think that she's in love with him. I need to contact her, I need to talk to her, I need to know what's going on because she acts like our 10-year history. An 8-year marriage is nothing to her. I need advice on how to act. I feel the impulse of travel to where she is and look for her, but how could I do that? I don't know what city she is in, I don't know where she lives, I don't have a number to contact her, she closed her social media, her family is small, they don't live in the same country as me, and all of them blocked me. I'm totally lost, I don't know what to do at this point. I still want her back, and yes, even pregnant. I feel like if this is a nightmare and I need to wake up now. Update to the story: these days have been very strange at times, I feel numb and at others desperate. So a lot of things have happened. I want to start by answering something and then I will update. Some people asked, why Norway? I don't know exactly, but she is a polyglot, she speaks 6 languages, many of these languages are connected to cultures that she always liked, and Norwegian is just one of them. She has always been interested in Norwegian culture, she has been there before, but she's also interested in other cultures and speaks other languages, so for me, that was never an indicator that she might have gone to this country. Regarding the update, the first thing I will say is that the post reached some people in my circle. Sabrina's sister is on Reddit, she knows the story and realized it was me. She told Sabrina, and Sabrina is angry at Nick for revealing information. Nick is angry at me for posting on Reddit because he said I pressured him to talk. I'm angry at both of them for being two a-holes who watched me suffer for 2 years and decided not to help me. They did not care about my marriage, why should I care about their marriage? So Sabrina could have given me my ex phone number a long time ago, but she decided to prioritize her friendship with my ex instead of helping 2 friends mend their marriage. Meanwhile, no one cared about my feelings. I'm done with them at this point. Regarding my ex-wife though, I've been thinking a lot. She cannot just disappear. I convinced myself that if I searched hard enough, I could find something related to her. I follow some of her relatives from a fake Instagram account, but I never found anything related to her. I searched a lot and really a lot and found a name that I had seen before, but that had not caught my attention until then. It was a lady with a name that's not typical in the US or my wife's country. FYI, she is not American and a very strange last name. I went to her Instagram profile and she had no picture or anything, just a small profile picture that you can barely see. I decided to look her up on Facebook and found the same lady with the same profile picture, only her Facebook profile is quite open and she is indeed a lady from Norway. I checked everything I could on this profile. I was convinced that it had something to do with my wife. How else would a relative of hers have this woman in their friends list? I saw a lot of pictures, people, plants, mountains, gardens, lakes, flowers, typical things that an older lady posts, until I came across a picture where my ex was dressed as a bride hugging a guy. I had to translate the text. The lady was congratulating her son on his wedding. There were a few more pictures, not many, and there were even some members of my ex's family in the wedding picture. The dates of the pictures were from a year ago. A year ago she married this guy. I don't understand, how could it happen so fast? When did she meet him? I honestly thought she got married after she got pregnant, not before, and this baffles me even more now. After that I found another picture. It was a group picture and she was far away, but of course I recognized her. The same guy was with his hands on her shoulders hugging her. This picture was from 2023. To be clear, she left in May 2022. How is she with someone in February 2023? Only 9 months and she's already in a stable enough relationship that he has introduced her to his family? What the hell is going on here? I feel like I have even more questions in my head now. I know I should not be upset, but I am. I know I lost her because I was an idiot, but it's hard to get this feeling out of my head right now. Anyways, for those who imagined this fantasy that my ex is with some kind of Norwegian Chris Hemsworth, well, let me tell you, it's not like that. This guy is too tall, too blonde, too pale, hair too long, and kind of chunky to be honest. He looks more like the old cartoon of Vikings and is definitely not a Chris Hemsworth. I managed to find his FB profile, but he has almost nothing there. His profile says he is an engineer who wears metal band t-shirts at 38. I don't know how to take this because I'm an engineer myself, just in a different field. Why would she look for a man with the same profession as me? My wife has always liked heavy metal, which I always found nasty, but I never complained. After all, your partner does not have to have the same musical taste as you. I mention this because maybe that was the way they connected and she used to connect easily with people who liked the same type of music as her. I don't know, but I honestly look at it and think, where did she get this guy from? I mean, she can definitely do better than this. The pregnancy thing still messes with my head. I try not to think about it. I cannot understand it. I'm not infertile like the comments suggest. I've been to the doctor and I know I'm not. But damn, it kills me to think that she's going to have another man's child. I don't get it. I feel this is beyond anything I ever imagined, and no, I'm not going to Norway. I'm not going to try to contact her. I still want to see her and talk to her though, but I obviously cannot force her to do that. I have too much to deal with right now and too much to talk about in therapy. If by any chance this post reaches my ex, I want you to know that I still love you. You know where to contact me. If by any chance this post reaches the new dude, I want you to know the only reason you have a chance with this woman is because a big idiot halfway across the world completely ruined it. You most probably met a woman who was probably very broken from her divorce and you took advantage of her situation and trapped her with a baby. You don't know how to play fair. Sabrina and Nick, F you. And yeah, Ripestars, I gotta say, I am absolutely speechless that this post was so highly rated on Reddit. This was almost like reading a fever dream or something. Let me know in the comments what you think about this crazy story. And before we end the video, we will read a funny story from r/PettyRevenge. It is titled, "He slammed the door every morning at 5 AM, so I practiced piano at 11 PM. So I live in an apartment where the walls are thin enough to hear someone sneeze 2 units down, so like basic noise courtesy kinda matters. Most people get that, but not my next door neighbor. For some reason, he thinks that doors are meant to be slammed, not closed. Not gently pulled shut, but full body thrown like he is mad at it. And he does this every morning at 5 AM, no exaggeration, it's how I wake up most weekdays now. Sometimes he slams it twice because he forgets his phone or whatever, so bonus round for me. Well, one morning I ran into him and asked if he could maybe be a little quieter with the door. I kept it light, was not rude about it, and he just laughed and said, "It's just a door, relax," and then walked off. Okay then, that night I decided if he likes noise so much, I could contribute too. I dragged out my old electric keyboard, plugged it in, and picked the loudest, most obnoxious organ setting I could find. Around 11 PM, when everything's super quiet, I sat down and started playing chopsticks like a kid at their first piano lesson. Not well, not rhythmically, and definitely not short. I did it the next night too, and the one after that. On the fourth morning, the 5 AM door slam never came back again. It's been over a week now. Peaceful mornings, no slamming, no passive-aggressive notes, just silence. So yeah, I guess sometimes you really do have to fight noise with noise, and hey, maybe I will get good at piano again while I'm at it. And yeah guys, thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe and check out my playlist on the left if you wanna see more content.